All right, so I know the new moon was a few days ago, new moon in Taurus, but I am still pulling cards for that and the next moon cycle as we move through it. So this is the new moon that is waxing and making its way towards the full moon eventually. But I pulled these 3 cards, and I know the past few days felt like a kick in the teeth to me. It was rough. And I think that people are going through different levels of intensity with all that's going on, and it kind of settling in what our newer flow is with this new reality, and nobody knows where it's going to go or what's going to happen, and we're just on the ride. And so it's interesting that all 3 of these cards are very much these lower chakra cards, like very much our stability, our foundational reality, our creative drive, our kundalini energy, and also our energy center where we put our energy out and also receive from the world around us. And so I want to talk about these cards that we got. We got the Devil, Tiger's Eye, and Red Merlot card, and it says relationships below it. So first I want to start with the Devil card. So this one, it can be an unnerving card and definitely one to watch out for, but not in the way that I think it is perceived. A lot of times you see the devil, and because of religion pushing these archetypes on us, particularly of good and bad, light and dark, heaven and hell. But these are all binaries that we, at least in my mind, are moving away from and moving into a reality where we understand that it's not good versus evil. It's different sides of the exact same coin, and all of us learning to relate to everything, to all sides of things, and to not believe that one is bad and one is good, because it's that belief that something is bad and something is good that creates a lot of the issues that we have right now in society, particularly in our society, but I think globally at this point. So the Devil card is speaking to this aspect of being so much in our physicality that we can forget about our oneness. It can be really easy to get lost in just the physical realms and forget that we are a part of something much larger. And if you see, the devil in this card has the pentagram on his third eye. His feet are on fire, and the pentagram's facing down. And I know I've gone over this before, but in case anybody's new, the pentagram, at least from my vantage point, when it is facing up, has spirit at the top, and then all of the other elements make up the other points of the star, and then the circle is it all combined together. And so when spirit is up at the top, stars facing up, that means you're taking energy from consciousness, spirit realm, whatever you want to call it, funneling it through yourself and into the earth, and then the earth transmutes that back into the spirit realm. So it creates this cyclical nature, and that is why I believe it was paired together with good magic. Alternately, when the pentagram is facing down, what that is pulling power from the earth, which is like your physical manifestation. So you can pull power from the earth, but then you don't have necessarily any accountability to spirit. And that's when things start to get out of whack, because you can pull a lot of power from the earth and you can manifest a lot of things from the physical realm by pulling from the earth. But if you have no accountability to the spirit realm, or AKA the oneness of all of us, then you run into some issues. And then this is how we run into the issues that we have on a broader scale of issues like billionaires who are amassing profit as people die, and corrupt capitalist systems that are set up to destroy us all. Colonial systems that are set up to destroy us all. Like, it may look like somebody's getting rich, and people are getting rich and creating wealth for generations that is passed down in terms of privilege, in terms of monetary gain, resource gain. But ultimately, and just like these other two cards are talking about, it doesn't necessarily serve us to just amass wealth and power. And we have to watch ourselves, because not only that, like, I'm sure most people who are watching this video are not the multi-billionaires who are amassing power over people, but we have to be in check with ourselves. We have to be in check with who we are supporting, where we are putting our energy, where we are getting our energy, if we have any energy. And then also this card is speaking of being aware of ourselves. If we're in a space where we don't have a lot of energy and we're replacing that energy with something, say drinking or doing drugs. I smoke weed. You know, like, we're out here doing what we can to get by, but the quote that I always bring up when the devil comes around is the difference between medicine and poison is the dose. So medicine can help you, medicine can kill you. And this is also the bringing up, because I was studying vaccines so much, and interesting, because I never planned on having kids, so I didn't plan on trying to figure out like what is good about vaccines or not. And, you know, it's a gamble. It's a gamble because diseases are there, and vaccines do help with diseases on a larger scale with society. Like, we have drastically reduced the number of polio cases, but still the vaccine administration causes 70% of the polio cases that are left. So we have dramatically less, but you still run a risk when you get a vaccine to get that disease. And it's a gamble if you do, and it's a gamble if you don't, because it's more about the necessity for humans to be living right with our ecosystems, and we're not living right with our ecosystems, and that's why diseases come around. It's not about population, it's about living right with your ecosystems. Anywho, relationships. Red Merlot, red card, root chakra, very much about our foundation, our tribe, what we're investing our energies in, and what gives us energy. Our relationships are everything for us. We need relationships in order to survive. And this interesting point was brought up by a friend of mine who works in the mental health area of the world. We've been talking about social distancing and what that kind of does, because words mean things. Words are important when you check in with them. Like, to say social distancing implies a distance between being social. In fact, what we really need is physical distancing, because it's the physical distance that is going to actually keep us from getting the virus, whereas we need our social structures more than ever to get through something like this, a pandemic, when we need mutual aid, when we need each other. And we can't get to, if we do too much social distancing, we're going to end up more and more isolated than we were before. And isolating ourselves ultimately takes away from our immunity. It takes away from our ability to heal. We need each other. We have established this, and we are each other. We're connected to each other, and there's nothing, global pandemic or not, we need each other. And this card is basically calling to attention the necessity for right relationship, whether that's right relationship with yourself so that you can tune in and you can get with the right people around you, or focusing on how do we get cohesive with whatever situation we're in and whatever relationships we're in, and how do we protect ourselves along the way. Because I know there's all kinds of different situations that people happen to be trapped in right now, and not a lot of wiggle room, or the people who are trapped in situations where they got to be out on the streets all the time, which I see outside of my door all the time. It's a harsh world right now, and we need each other more than ever. And so I would really, when this card comes up, it's very much like, make sure you know who's got your back and who you have the back of. And this last card, the Tiger's Eye card, wants to give us that clear vision, that really focused understanding, to be able to see the big picture of the situation and to also rein it in, and to understand how the big picture of the situation can really boil down to what we need in the momentary choices that we're making. And this card really wants us to, like, when I talk about letting go of linear time, or at least acknowledging that linear time is a construct that we just all happen to agree on, but it's not a real thing. That's a giant concept that maybe some people are at different sides of the spectrum of whether or not they can actually integrate that into their life. But this Tiger's Eye really wants us to be able to, like, integrate these big picture ideas that can root into us the ability to imagine a different possibility for ourselves, the ability to release fear, release the fact that we know that, yes, lots of billionaires wish that we were dead, trying to find ways to kill us, but we are still empowered, important beings that deserve to be here, that deserve to be cultivating meaningful relationships with each other, that deserve to have mutual aid. And the more desperation that happens, the more necessity mutual aid is. And so it's really important that we become open to this situation, become open to the idea that we could have clarity about the right choices to make that will ultimately not just sustain us, but sustain future generations. And we've got to think larger than just ourselves. And we have to open up to the possibility that Spirit wants to help us too. I really, truly believe that. And so I hope that we can all kind of get a little bit more grounded and rooted in this particular situation, so that we could potentially imagine possibilities in the future. And it's not, if you can't imagine the possibilities right now, that's okay. But the more you get grounded right now, and the more you know who you're working with and who we're working together for, the more we can bypass these things that put us in fear mode and bring us into something that is a little bit more blossoming in possibility. So hope that resonates, and I'll see you next time.